a great masterpiece, an attacking gem that just took me by surprise when I was a young man. And I've been waiting for to show it to you here on GM Talks. So here it is. It's Miles against Spassky. It made a big impression on me when I was a young kid, and it may do the same to you, even though the computer is not so nice to the game, unfortunately. So let's jump into it. It has a lot of interesting moments, and it's a nice little game in only 28 moves. Miles is white, and Miles was famous for his provocative style and sarcastic humor. He was a very kind of funny guy, and he had a hard time not trying to make fun of people when talking to them. I talked about that in Playing the Legends. So you can go back and watch that video. He's playing against Spassky in Montilla in Spain in 1978. So it was a long time ago, 43 years. And this is the Miles variation in the Queen's Indian. And here's a little secret. I have played this move, and it's not bad at all. It's not bad at all. It's I think I got 3 points out of 3 from this position. And in general, this system with Bishop F4 was a little bit underestimated for a long time, but with the London system, that's all over, and everybody's afraid of bishops on F4. And of course, here it makes a lot of sense. There is a nice diagonal here. There's this square that's also important, and the bishop down here does not do that much when it's sitting here. So kind of nice altogether. Bishop e7, e3. Maybe the best move for black here is to play bishop b4. Check. With the check here. This is a move that makes a lot of sense since the white-black squared bishop has left the queen side. The black squares are weaker on the queen side. It's a natural consequence of the departure of that bishop. We see that in other systems with bishop d5 as well. Here, after bishop b4, I think white should probably play knight fd2, because he does not want to play knight c3 and allow a double pawn to emerge on c3. So if this move, black would simply take and give white a nasty double pawns on these two squares. So I think that's good for black. So that's better avoided. So on bishop b4, you go knight fd2. Bishop e7. That is that was the conventional wisdom back then, that threatens this move. And then came along a Russian epician and played in this position this move. I'm just going to show you a line because it's kind of cool. And he played like this. And this is was the positional threat behind bishop e7. And here he just played bishop d3, allowing black to take this one. And after something like this, he played queen e2 and followed up with castle queenside and had a huge attack here. And the target down here had some troubles. And this pawn here is actually a very strong pawn because it helps with a lot of key squares. So that's a pretty cool idea. I played it 2 times with white and won both games. So that is interesting. I think there are maybe black has found some counter thing. So, but bishop e7, I would definitely play knight c3. I would not play what Miles did, h3. But of course, it does prepare a retreat down here on h2 and does take away this square. And in general, it's probably necessary at some point. It's what you will call a luxury move. Castle. And maybe black should play c5 in this position here, because in this position, after knight c3, c5 makes no sense, because this is a disastrous Benoni for black. Not only is his bishop on this square, but the bishop is also on this square. So this is just totally unplayable for black. Because and white often plays c5 even as a pawn sacrifice. So in this situation, I think c5 makes a lot of sense to take here. And the thing is, this bishop is not really well placed, no matter what white takes back with on f4. So c5 here makes a lot of sense. And castle is probably a slight inaccuracy. Knight c3, getting the pieces out, d5, and we also see the reason why Spassky plays like this is he's a long time connoisseur of the Tartakova variation of the Queen's Gambit. He was one of the first grandmasters to play that a lot and is considered one of the biggest experts. He also played it in the famous match against Fischer in 1972. Take and take, and that, I think nowadays black would probably take back with the knight, and if knight takes, he'll take with the queen and sacrifice a pawn to get some pretty nice compensation, and that's probably fine for I'm sure that's fine for black. But taking back with the pawn is a little bit inaccurate. Bishop d3, and we have white has a very harmonious setup, but it's also a very interesting structure we have here with these two pawns here against these two pawns here, and potential hanging pawns if white takes on c5. Castle here, knight e5. This is a natural move. I'm not sure it's the best, but it's maybe rook c1 to have bishop b1 on c4 was better. But this is it cannot be bad to go knight e5 and c4, and that's always interesting when black goes for trying to utilize his majority on the king side. That's always an interesting plan. And it's always dangerous because it makes the position very sharp. White has to get something going on the king side, otherwise he will be swamped with the pawns on the king's queen side. Please notice that black here has 1, 2, 3 pawns versus 1, 2. So he's simply a pawn up on the queen side, and if white doesn't get play anywhere else, he's in trouble. a6 makes sense, preparing b5, and here this is maybe a little bit too aggressive. g4, but it's also kind of cool. Just say, okay, you attack on the queen side, I attack on the king side, let's go. b5, only logical move. d5 makes a lot of sense. Queen d4, and this is sort of the amass a lot of pieces on the side where you're attacking plan. And here black should probably take on e5, or at least play this move, b4, kicking the knight before this pawn is a problem. And I don't see white's attack, to be honest. It's not easy to see how to break through anywhere. So after b4, black is probably slightly better. d6 cannot be that bad though, and really, but here is definitely also another time to go b4, and it's kind of funny that the computer keeps suggesting b4, and Spassky does not play b4 at all. But also this looks very logical. The knight was not very good on g7 here. It controls these squares and saying how you're gonna continue your attack. There's nothing here, nothing to see, and in a little while the queen side will be where the action is. And guess who's got a pawn more on the queen side? It's me, Boris Spassky. h4, and of course hoping when the knight goes somewhere we'll be able to push the pawn. Also preparing to take back with the bishop here by covering this pawn. Okay, bishop b4, and that's a clear mistake. That's just not a good move, and this was the final call, Boris, for b4. After b4, black is probably still somewhat better. After bishop b4, he's clearly worse. And this is the time to pause the video and see if you can find an attacking idea for white. How to continue in this position. So, and I was very impressed with this move. It was, of course, I played through the game when I was young, and there was no computers at that time who could tell you if it was right or wrong. But I was always very scared of doing things like this. So here it comes. Are you ready? Knight d7, jumping in. And we see that the bishop has left e7, so this square here is now a problem. And it's, of course, so it's hitting these squares and it's covered by the queen. And at the same time, white is treading this move because the knight is blocking the queen from protecting the pawn here. Okay, bishop c8. Oops. And that's why I would be very scary and maybe not even look at knight d7, because this pin looks not so nice, right? It looks unpleasant, but there is a tactical justification, and it comes here. Knight takes d5, and with that move, white gets this move. So if black takes on d7, for instance, like this, you can just take back and play knight f6, and the knight will always get out, and you'll have one central pawn more, easily winning. So here black is sort of, he has to win material because he just lost the most important pawn, the pawn on d5, and the knights are swarming in. It's looking nice here, and it's also covering d7, but black can do more with d7. You can do this, ooh, and that's also attacking. So, oops, like this. Yeah, I will make it red here. Okay, d5. We also got this lineup or matchup, which is a problem for black, and this rook here is not in any trouble because it's covered by a lot of pieces. So it's only the queen that's sort of in the way of the bishop. The rook is not a problem. So if white takes on d7, you can just take back and no problem. 97. Moving the knight out of the way, still threatening to take the knight. And here comes a pretty cool move. Unfortunately, maybe not the best. That's a shame. The best move here is probably a3. And the computers think it's more or less just winning for white. This was not what Miles did. He did this move, and that's so much more aesthetic pleasing. It's threatening. It's, of course, it's bringing in a lot of death on this diagonal, and it's also putting in this threat that will bring more power. And here rook takes d7, and here white, according to the computer, still have a huge S after queen f4. He didn't play that move. He played this move, which was fantastic move in my opinion. It was this concept of knight d7, and here he's just lost a piece, and then he just moves the pawn here, and he doesn't even have a pawn on the h file. He's just going to get it up here, and black will be totally toast due to this fantastic bishop here. But that should also give black an idea to the defense, and I'm just going to give you a chance. So I'm going to flip the board and say, what would you do if you were black here? What would you do? Okay. And yeah, you can pause the video and calculate all day, and then you can come back, and here we are. And the best move here by black is this move. It's just get the bishop out of the way and starting to annoy this bishop that is the big problem for black. And unfortunately it can't move anywhere without getting attacked. And this is, according to the computer, this is white will play queen f4, and it's equal. And it's probably correct. I don't know. The computer says it's equal in all lines after bishop d6. So that was a little bit shame, especially since queen f4 is a clear advantage. But it's h5 still. You should remember this was the 70s before anyone had heard about stockfish or anything like that. At that time, computers were totally ridiculous. They couldn't. They thought they should centralize the king in the endgame, so the king would just go around in the 4 central squares, no matter what the position. That was kind of funny though. So he played here, which is a natural move, and after queen f4, black is completely busted. Take, queen a5 had to go. There was a threat on the queen, and knight e8. That's nice. Using the whole board, getting ready for this move. And of course, the knight threatens here, the bishop threatens here. And this guy here is in some sort of trouble. F6, and you know it's not going to help. And, well, it's kind of funny, though. King g8, and here Spassky resigned. The position is totally hopeless. I think it's plus 15 or something. So this game was, I think, really cool. Since then, well, with the computer and all, moves like this are maybe more common. But back then, this was really, whoa, just self-pinning. Anyway, this was GM Talks. I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for another one.